Oh hey gamer, I didn't see you there. Well, it turns out I gotta do a bit of a Sketchfab tutorial, I guess. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so pretty much Sketchfab is really basic, okay? So check it. All you gotta do, right, is first you gotta make an account, okay? Once you're in that, you can upload a 3D model, okay? Cool. So let's say you uploaded a 3D model. Well, what is that gonna look like, okay? And by the way, you can use .fvx, .obj, .whatever, but personally I prefer .obj. So in Blender, if you can export to .obj, do it, okay? So anyway, so what is your model gonna look like? Well, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna have a completely white background and you're gonna have a completely white model, and it's gonna look like this, okay? So, what you wanna do is you wanna give it a texture, okay? So first, there's two things you want to do, okay? So before you give it a texture, you probably want to do some basic stuff like, okay, give it a title, give it a description, give it some tags, maybe you can pick a category, just so that more people can see it on Sketchfab, but this isn't really necessary. Anyway, once you do that, to give this thing a texture, what you do is you go to Edit 3D Settings, okay? And you go into here, which is Materials, okay? You go into Base Color, you click Texture, and then you click Import Texture. It doesn't, theoretically you could put in any picture you want. Like for example, as a joke, I can put in, let's see here, what's a funny picture? A picture of this snowboard guy, okay, cool. And then if I want, bam, now I can put this texture if you want, but obviously that's not the correct texture. So, for example, let's give a better example, okay? So let's go into my models. And let's say I've got this one. Okay, cool. So let's say I want to change the texture of this. Well, what I do is I go into 3D settings, go into materials, go into base color. And by the way, for this, if you have a texture, like one or more textures already imported, you're going to see this so you can mess with them. But for now, don't worry about that. Just go back into texture, manage textures, import texture, okay? And let's say we want to import a correct texture. So let's go into here, go into my unturned stuff, go into here. Wow, okay, look, I have an actual cool proper texture. So check it out, right? This is a little like branch thing. Let's say I want to change it. Bada bing, bada boom. It now looks super duper cool. So amazing. So that's how you add a texture, okay? And then once you have the texture, you can go back into base color and then mess with stuff. You can change the format of what it is. You can make it black and white if you want. You can make it fuzzy or whatever, but to be honest, just leave it at trilinear and RGB and then don't touch anything, okay? So that's how you add the texture. The next thing you want to do is you want to go and change the background so it looks nice, okay? So the way that you do that is, well, first let's find one that has a terrible background. So let's see here. Okay, well, okay. So this blunt force has a decent background, but it's kind of gray. We can do better. So what we do is we go into Edit 3D Settings, okay, and we change the background. Now there's two options that I like to use, okay. First is you can have this kind of rainbow looking background. Now the way that you do that is you go into lighting, okay, you turn environment on if it's not on already, and then you pick one of these, okay, like let's choose this one. Okay, cool. You can change the orientation of it, you can change the brightness of it. Try to leave it at a normal value, and then here in background, which is scene, you can change it from ambient lighting, or if you want to see the background or something, you can do that. Personally, I don't really think this looks good, so don't. Instead, you can keep it ambient so it looks nice, and that's option 1. And by the way, this changes based on which 3D picture you're using. So if you want something a little bit more brown, you can do that. If you want something a little bit more gray, you can do that. But my personal favorite is this one, because this is this nice like rainbow texture, okay? So that looks cool. Okay, cool. And then of course, obviously, if you want, you can make things, darker or brighter or whatever. But okay, that looks pretty cool. If not a little bit dark, so let's up the brightness. Okay, that looks good. Now, what's the second way of setting a background? Okay, well, the second way is instead of using environment over here, you can use color, okay? And what you want to do is you want to pick a color that makes this 3D object pop more, or it makes it appear more bold and interesting, okay? You never want to have the background be more visually interesting than the thing you're trying to show off, right? Because the background's supposed to be in the back. It's supposed to provide a nice backdrop for this thing to contrast with. So, so two ways you can do this. Either you can make it the same color as this. So for example, this is green, right? So we can make it a dark green, like so. And let's see around here, maybe something like this. Okay, this is a decent background, but another way you can do it is you can give this contrast. So for example, green is, if you look on a color wheel, right? What is the opposite color of green? Well, the opposite color of green here is orange, okay? And the opposite color of blue is, I guess like a different color of orange, or like the opposite color of red is green, the opposite color of purple is yellow, right? Okay, cool. So what you can do is you can take a color that is the opposite color, or a complementary color, that's what's called, and put that as a background. So let's take an orange because that's the opposite color. And let's see what we want to do here. Let's make it a nice orangey color. Okay. That looks decent. And of course, we can always mess with the lightning and stuff like that too. Yeah, okay. So, brightness. Make the gun about this bright. And then make the background, I guess this is fine. No, make it something like this. Okay, cool. That looks decent. Now, what we can do is section 3, special effects, okay? And some other miscellaneous stuff. So, now that you have the background, now that you have the texture, what you can do is you can add some of these special effects. And this is in post-processing filters, okay? And the main ones I use are vignette, okay? So vignette just basically means the corners of the screen are dark, okay? Now, I don't like to, I like to turn this on, but I like to make the effect very subtle, okay? Maybe around 26 or something, okay? So it's not something you immediately notice, but if it's gone, you can tell it's gone, right? So it's just like a nice thing to put on, maybe a little bit harder. Okay, that looks good. Another one I like to do is I like to use sharpness, just so that this is visual. This is a lot easier to see, but I like to make the sparseness like lower. Okay, and then okay, cool. Those are the two main ones: sharpness and vignette. Okay, cool. So now you can finally go into lighting. Okay, and what you can do is you can change how this thing is lit, okay? So what I mean is, so in general, this will change how your object is lit, like in terms of like, how do you say, like the general lighting, right? But if you want a specific light on the object, you go up to here. And so what you can do is you can go into presets, like for example, 3-point lighting, you can do fairy lighting, you can do default lighting, okay? But personally, I happen to like to use 3-point lighting, and have one side be yellow and one side be blue. So in this case, I know that the sun is coming in from here-ish, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. By using this is to rotate it, and then this is to move it. Okay, and this just takes practice. Oops. Okay, cool. And there you go, something like that. So that's for the yellow. And then if you want the blue on the opposite side, you can really just move it over here and then rotate it real quick. And voila. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good, actually. But this background looks kind of gross. So the final step is just, how do you say, making tiny edits to make it look kind of nicer. So for example, making this maybe look a little bit nicer. And this is just a preference, right? But okay, cool. And let's see here. What lighting do I got here? Okay. And of course, you can click this and change the intensity of how much lighting it gets. Okay. Generally, what you want is you want all sides of your gun to be lit somewhat. Like, you never want one side of your gun to be black like this, because then it's hard to see, right? You want to show off the detail. So, you do this. And now it is visible, regardless of which angle you look at it. Okay, cool. So this looks nice. The background is not gross. We have some slight vignetting, and we got some cool stuff. The last thing you want to do is add ground shadows, okay? And this is pretty simple. You can add ground shadows like this, but it looks kind of bad. What you can do instead is you can do this, where you put it into baked AO. What this will do is it'll give you a much more fancy shadow, okay? So there you go, and voila, it looks nice. You can see, like, hey, it's floating in like a 3D space. It looks cool. Voila. So the 5 main steps are importing an object, giving it a 3D texture, changing the background, adding some nice effects like lighting and stuff, and then the final thing is giving a ground shadow. Okay, if you can remember these 5 things, you'll make all your stuff look hecka nice. And then, as one last thing that you can do, you can go and save the thumbnail. Voila. Okay, cool. So now this is the thumbnail that we saved. So now if we exit, we'll see that it'll default to this. And this looks pretty cool. You can rotate it, looks good from every angle. Awesome. Okay, now the last thing you want to do is, well, think about it. Why did we make all this stuff, right? We're trying to get our gun that is in Steam, like, unturned, right? It's a Steam game. So we want to make our Steam store, like, item page look better, right? We want to make this Steam page for our item better so that people look at our item and they say, wow, that looks good. I want that to be added, okay? So why, if that's the case, do we make this? Well, I'll tell you why. So, because if you go to here, you can click share, and that has this link, right? So you click copy, and then you go into Steam here, and actually, if you go into here, you'll see, voila, you can enter a Sketchfab model URL in here. So if we put that in, like, you'll see that once you save everything and you go back to your model, of course you'll still have your pictures and stuff like that, but next to your pictures, the very first object is actually this 3D Sketchfab model. And now, people who look at your skin can not only just see the pictures, but they can look at your skin in 360 degrees. They can be like, wow, this looks so cool, And the good thing about this is, not only does it let you show off your skin in every single angle, which looks super duper cool, but also, it seems a lot more honest, you see, because here's the deal. With a picture, you can add, Photoshop filters and stuff like that to make it look good, okay? So you can fake it. But with this, it's a lot harder to fake it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's, like, with a picture, you can be like, oh, well, what if it doesn't look good in game? Well, guess what? The way that it looks here is the way that's gonna look in game. So it gives the viewer a much better idea of what your thing is going to look like in game, so they can make a better decision on whether or not they want it in the game. And hey, if your skin is a good design, this will be actually good for you too, because they can see your cool design, not just in these set angles of a picture, but in 360 view. It makes your design all that much more cool and makes them want to say yes to it and get it added into the game. So I don't know if that's all that helpful, but I hope this was helpful. And yeah, I hope with this video now you understand how to use Sketchfab.